the Evolution Security Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Evolution Security Podcast. I am Aaron Davis. I'm alone today because Eric is on a secret mission supporting some troops in some place that he can't talk about. But I do have a really fun show for you guys. This is exciting for me because I actually have my jiu-jitsu coach, Matt Reyna from Training Ground. How you doing, Matt? Thanks
I'm
for
doing
coming
great.
on, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. I was super excited to be invited, so pretty cool.
Oh man, I've been talking about having you on for a while, so I'm glad the stars aligned and that we could get on here. I had some internet issues this weekend, so we kind of had to play it by ear, and we're finally on here. But first of all, I just want to jump right in here and announce to the audience that we're so happy to bring on Training Ground, Matt's school. He's got a couple of schools and multiple avenues and things that he teaches at Training Ground that his school offers. And we have been creating a partnership for a while in the last year or so. And they are our new sponsor. So thanks for coming on as a sponsor too, Matt.
Yeah, well, we're honored too. Have a partner with such a great brand, and we love your podcast. So,
Oh, thanks, buddy.
perfect.
Well, so I do want to make sure everybody knows where they can learn more about Training Ground, and that is at trainingground.life.
Yeah,
And there's all kinds of information right there. You can learn about classes, you can learn about rates, you can learn about all the arts that Matt's school offers. So go check that out.
yeah.
And I will also have that in the show notes. Do you have anything else to say about that, Matt?
No, we just added an app, so we're super excited about that. That we've been creating our own app, and so there's a video content in that app. So whether it's jujitsu, karate, aerial six, and soon to be some of our EvoSec, hand-to-hand pistol training, I'm super excited about that. You can have all of that at the access in the palm of your hand, and learn about when
Awesome.
those courses are going to be about.
Awesome. And we can talk a little bit about more about that a little bit more here later. But I do want to jump in here real quick before we get too deep in talking about all the fun stuff we have going on. Would like to have you give a short bio, introduce yourself to those that may not know you, and then end up with what led you into martial arts.
Yeah. So my name is Matt Reyna. I'm 46 years old. I've two children of my own that are out of school and on their own, doing their own things now. So it's a different phase of life for me. I started karate when I was 15 years old with one of my friends, Robert Lewis, who is currently a business partner of mine. And so we do this together. And I tell people all the time that one of the cool things about martial arts is where you stay connected to your friends the longest amount of time and have a really strong friendship. So I think that's what my hope for my students is, that they build some deep relationships and that last a lifetime, because there's nothing like training with people and gathering in that space. But so a little bit about me. I have two dogs. I live in 40 acres in Beggs, and as you know, that 40 acres we bought intentionally for Training Ground so that we could have camps, and we do anything from karate camps, jujitsu camps, and now firearms training, archery, all kinds of cool stuff that we didn't see in the beginning when we were starting this. It was just like, gosh, there's a need for all this cool training, whether it's self-defense or survival skills. And guess what? We don't have to be the only people to come up with this stuff to do it. We can gather around some other believers and gather around other people who have strong training backgrounds. And it was like, gosh, let's just do that instead, because it's so much stronger when we're together than we are apart. So, so
Awesome.
that's a little bit about me now. I'm sorry, you asked another question. What was it?
Just what did lead you into the path of martial arts?
Yeah, like, just like your brother, my brother and I, we love to watch, kung fu theater when we were growing up, Ninja Turtles, all that kinda cool stuff, but when I kinda got older, I thought, "Well, I'm too cool for karate, maybe I don't wanna do that," and except for my friend Robert Lewis saved me from getting beat up one time, and I was like, "Well, maybe I'm not too cool to learn this stuff, and maybe I'll just kinda get into it with him," and, again, we built a strong relationship, through our martial arts training, and just like anything you do, you want to hang out with your friends. So if you want to hang out with friends that train, you got to go where they go and do what they do. And then it became easy to fall in love with it because I was like, oh, I like this stuff a lot. I'm getting better. My friendships are getting better. And so, it just seemed like the learning just never stops. So that's what kept me going.
What I'd like to mention now is kind of how we got involved together. So really what happened was at first my brother and I, of course, offer training through Evolution Security. We started offering a handful of classes, and we started actually hosting them out at your camp,
Yeah.
at your range out there. And we had a lot of fun.
One of the
You
best
and I
trainings I've
just,
ever been a part of.
oh, awesome, man. Well, there's the thing is that we really hit it off. You and I really are on the same page in so many ways. And you were just so gracious to allow us to use your facilities there, and then eventually brought my twin brother in for our combatives class, our whole weekend of combatives. Which I can tell you right now, I like to say, I had no idea how awesome of an instructor my brother was, because I had never seen him teach all that material in one weekend. It was an excellent class, so I'm looking forward to offering that class again soon. And of course, I'll always take an excuse
Yeah.
to hang out with my twin brother. So, but
Yeah, I think it was easy
and
for
so,
me
but
too because one, he was a good instructor, and two, you were such a nice guy that I was like, "Golly, how do I keep these guys wanting to come back?" And we just wanted to make it easy for you guys.
yeah, you actually made it really easy for us to get involved, especially me living here, because you have such an open door policy in everything that you offer, Matt. You can tell it's just a passion that you have for teaching and learning. But I came to a few classes and realized that I had another school that I was attending for several years. And I've been real honest with our audience. Jiu-jitsu is extremely important to me, but it
Yeah.
has not always been my top priority. But one thing that has helped me a ton, and it was really the old school that I was at had a almost a completely different um, way of teaching, and there was I'll take nothing away from it other than it just didn't work for my style of learning. I always felt once I got my blue belt, I started, I went straight into the higher level classes, and it was just hitting the ground running, being overwhelmed with techniques and
Mm,
not much drilling. But I saw immediately your approach is not quite the opposite, but it was keeping it fairly simple on the techniques that we rolled over and then adding to it throughout the night, but also drilling a ton.
yeah.
That made it huge for me. But in other words, I made my move over to training ground, and it's been a godsend to me. Now, one of the things that I love about your gym is the humility.
Oh,
Your
thank.
humility is palpable. The humility from all the students, the whole building. It's like I said, I can't really say it any other way, is that it's palpable. You can feel the humility around it, and that's a tone from the top. I know that's a cliche, but I know very well it comes from you. Just in my interaction with you, your incredible ability to teach the empty hand side of martial arts, but yet you're so open when even someone not even close to your experience may ask a question or have a different take, or but you're never, when you're trying to help someone, it's never condescending. It's always from a very helpful, you're bringing your students, myself, everybody along. So I mean, I just can't stress that enough. And people have probably heard, actually I know Eric and I talk about you and the school training ground fairly often, and how much we dig you and our relationship. And I think every single time we talk about how humble you are.
Oh man,
So
I appreciate it. I don't always feel that I'm that way, but I try to be. And it's we started naming our school Christian Karate Academy. Then it was Christian Jiu Jitsu Academy, and then as we added programs, we're like, this is such a mouthful. We have to shorten it to training ground that houses EvoSec, that houses Christian karate or Christian jiu-jitsu. But at the end of it, I go, who am I representing? And for me, and my faith is like I'm representing Christ and His story. So I want to honor my instructor because he's the only person who's been perfect, and it's the pursuit of perfection. We will never land on it, but we will land on His excellence. And so I think, okay, how do I honor people that way? And something you just said about like somebody will ask a question with a different experience level, and I think your life experiences have brought you to this conclusion that you say don't need training or do need training, like firearms or don't like firearms, like jujitsu or don't like jujitsu. If I can answer it in such a way that makes you more receptive to the answer, then maybe you might give one of those things a try. And it still may not be for you, but I want to make sure that I honor the your life experiences that brought you to this question, and make sure I carefully answer and honor it, the courage it takes to ask questions, because it does take courage. And then the first time you handle it wrong, not only do they not want to ask that question again, but the people who witness how you handle it wrong don't want to ask questions, and the learning stops. And so it's like, I want a place that just perpetuates people going, hey, Matt, let me give you some feedback on how you taught. Let me give you ask some questions at the same time. And if you create that kind of pipeline, you could always make it better. And that's why I love, like, you guys. You make us better just because I learned so much. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have to know all the answers. And these guys are willing to share what they have with us, and vice versa. And nobody has an ego that says, my way is the right way. You need to think this way. So I think it creates an environment really fun to learn in.
sometimes people get confused. Is it a show about, mall security, or, just security
Uh,
guards, etc.? But the reason why we named this show Evolution Security is because we know that right now I am probably living by knowledge, that a lot of knowledge that is wrong,
hmm,
or I am living, and my understanding of things needs to be refined. I'm never at a stopping point of
yeah,
learning in this art. So that's what evolution means in the evolution security. And of course,
I
the
love that.
security is not just about martial arts. It's not just about fighting in the street, or gunfights in the streets. It's about home security. It's about health security. It's about relationship security.
Mhm.
It's about, again, we talk about music a lot. It's about living life of evolution. So, but
Love that.
back to the school, and you, for one, Matt, I spend a lot of time with you, and what's cool is, that I've had injuries and surgery and everything, and it's real helpful when I go to classes with you. So I kind of focus on you a lot here, Matt, because my relationship with training ground is mainly with you. Um, I never see you come in to this school without something you're working on, and it's something you learned from somebody else.
Oh yeah.
So of course we're big into jujitsu. What led you from the karate style that you learned, can you talk about that real quick? And then what I'm curious about is what led you to learn jujitsu, because that's a little bit of a leap too.
Yeah, it was. So my friend Robert, who also practices jujitsu, he's a master in Tong Sudo, which is Korean martial art. That's the karate that we practice. And so um, it's primarily kicking and punching. We do joint locks and we do some body grabs. But what we notice in those areas is once we started practicing jujitsu, that those areas had to evolve as well. Like, people don't always do have the same reactions the way we practice it in karate. And so then jujitsu allowed us to pressure test a lot of stuff. And then we got lots of personalities that we're training with, from anywhere from Gracie to, Machados to, you know, uh, Oklahoma wrestlers, Sambo guys. I mean, and we're in Oklahoma, we're rich with grapplers, very,
Mm.
very rich. And so it's like, wow, there's a lot of material and there's a lot of reactions. Let's figure out how to improve ourselves through learning through other people. And so even when someone says, this is the way you do it, I just go, that's a tool that I could use in my toolbox. I may not use it often, but I definitely want that tool in my toolbox. So I'm going to try to create a toolbox that's big and an opportunity to learn from anybody on anything, because again, their life experiences have brought them to the moment that they said, this is the way to do it. And of course, the people I've met along the way, they just kind of go, oh, I've never seen it done this way. Do you mind sharing what you have? And then when you're just forthcoming with it, like, yeah, I didn't invent any of this. I didn't create anything that's here. I have discovered it, and I feel like I'm being blessed with an opportunity to share it with other people. So, kind of creates that virtuous teaching cycle.
Well, and speaking of a cycle, I know I focused a lot on humility, but I do have, you already mentioned it earlier, is your faith in Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
One of the fun things for me, and it's also part of the peaceful and very open atmosphere, is that before each class, you pray over the class.
yeah.
That's fairly unique. And what's your reason for that? So people can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, we went, first, like, how do we start first? Initially, my prayer is praise and gratitude. I want to demonstrate praise. I want to demonstrate gratitude, not just for what God's given us for the day, but the family that He's allowed us to create in jujitsu or karate, whichever class that we're standing up in front of. And then for the house that He built. Like, sometimes I think ego can get in the way where you think, I built this business, or I created these four walls and this ceiling with the mats in it. And it's like, no, you were acting out of obedience. And because you acted out of obedience, God created this place. You were just, his word was guiding your hands and feet along that way. So I, when we start off, like, to start this business, it takes a lot of courage to start any business or start any practice. You're nervous. Is this going to work? Am I going to waste my time? Am I going to look stupid? All of those things go through somebody's head. And sometimes when people come along the way of the journey in class, I want them to feel a part of building this house. And every member, whether you're a white belt or a black belt, and everybody in between, has a part in building the house and building this ministry. So it's important that they know that this is how we started. We started with prayer, and then we asked blessings over the day, the people, the house. And then once we asked for that blessing, we got to work. And that's how every class starts, is praising just that way. Thank God for this day. Thank you for everybody in this class. And often I refer to this family, and then bless this house where He allows us to gather, because someday it may not be this house. It may be out on the land where we have some mats outside, and it may be that place that He has us together. So that's why I started. I want everybody to feel a part of the process. And how did we get here? Well, we're still getting there. We're just getting started, is how I feel.
Well, and then to key in on something that you said, and I know we've had conversations about this, but you do see this as a ministry, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. First and foremost, yeah, because you think about what you want to leave behind. You build something or you work on something. this isn't mine. I didn't make this. I was just a part of the hands and feet that worked on it. But what's really interesting right now that I get super excited in this phase of my life is seeing these leaders come up underneath me, 14, 15, 16-year-old leaders.
Hmm.
Like Noah and
Oh
Ethan,
yeah.
Luke, these guys are teenagers, but you're like, man, these guys are pretty impressive and they're already starting to beat me up. They're going to do this way better than we did. I may need to make sure I arm them with as much information. And that's why when we went to your course, I'm like, you guys need to be at this course. And don't get me wrong, they're young. Sometimes they don't always love it, having to go to courses that I make them go to. But then they're like, oh man, we get to shoot guns, practice with knives. And yeah, we want to go to this course. And so I had them go to that stuff because I'm in the future, I'm like, there is going to be the time that they can just do it better. And I just get to be a student in their class and speak and pray over them and help them in different places. But this next generation, I want to make sure we build a strong army of them that open schools all over the place with the same mentality that we're going to be God honoring schools that learn from all different facets of life to help make our martial art better and evolve.
Well, excellent. So this is, I think, a good time to kind of delve in a little bit to what we've got going on, EvoSec and Training Ground. So, so the last year or so, we've offered a handful of classes, and we had one here. I'll be honest, I don't remember when it was. I think it was November,
Remember, yeah,
that we did a full day in rain, but a real good shooting class. It was our defensive pistol one class. But
yeah,
this year we plan on doing quite a few classes. I'm probably going to look at the calendar and try and at least offer a class about every month. So
nice.
we're gonna start rolling those classes out. Now, one of the first classes we're gonna offer is going to be a female only class. Krista has been asking for that, and I talked to some ladies this weekend that would really like to do something like that. That's going to be one of the courses that we offer periodically, but that's going to be the next class we offer, and
Yeah,
then the at least the next class after that is going to be our defensive pistol 2 class, which is going to take what the students learned in that last class, defensive pistol 1, and of course we're going to focus more on shooting, getting more detailed into shooting, because we went over quite a bit of stuff in that class, and literally from a little bit of just a real cursory understanding of what someone's going to learn in Craig Douglas's muck portion of ECQC, which he's given us permission to give students a little bit of insight into that. But I want to make very clear, and I said at the class, that it was just a cursory understanding, so that people, and that was a way to try and gather people that they would go and take higher classes, especially by Craig, and then the stuff that we offer, and people like Cecil Birch and Paul Sharp. We went into some anatomy. We went into some concealed carry gear, the mechanics of concealed carry, and we did a lot of shooting too. But this next one's going to be definitely more shooting focused.
I'm super excited about that one. Mrs. Hoke just had a women's self defense this past Saturday, and it was packed house on that Saturday morning, and she has a really unique ability to appeal and connect with all different ladies, ages, and upwards and backwards and life experiences. And she just kind of understands like this is how this stuff needs to be taught. And she goes, I know you know the martial art, but I understand how they need to receive this. So maybe we can work together. And I'm like, absolutely. Let me figure out. You help me articulate this better. And sometimes she's the one that needs to articulate it, and she's a bad lady for sure. She definitely trains a lot, and I'm
Oh
like, oh
yeah.
man, even she has surpassed me in ability in lots of different areas for sure. And Tong Sudo, I was like, holy smokes, she can kick a lot better. And even when we go out to these pistol courses, you watch her shoot, you're like, oh yeah, you're a force to be reckoned with. And then she's able to take that and go, hey, anybody can do this. And I think that's going to be a great partnership for you guys.
Well, and something I'm proud of is that I believe that my pistol classes are are similarly inviting. That's something that I'm proud of, that people that are not experienced shooters are going to be able to come to one of my classes, one of Eric's classes, when we're talking about the firearms portion under training ground,
Yeah,
that you're going to learn a lot. You're going to get high level training, but it may be at the local level, which is what a lot of people, see us as, and that's just fine. But we have a lot of training under the Range Master Group. I am certified as an advanced instructor under Tom Givens Range Master, and working on my master. And there's the level of instruction that you get from taking periodic training, being able to carry that on to people at an economic level, at the local level. I mean, we can get people to be hungry for training, going all over the country to go to seminars and with these amazing instructors I've learned from. And again, I'm just real excited that we have a venue and a relationship that we can offer so much under one roof, and under your leadership.
I appreciate that. We actually have a nonprofit called MAPS, and I don't know that we've talked about this. It stands for Martial Arts Programs and Services. But the money that we raise off that predominantly is sends kids to camp. So like the kids get to do karate, jiu-jitsu. We even have skills training day, which we work with hammers, drills, and saws. But some of the things it also has done, the town I'm in is a one officer town, and there's lots of one officer towns that can't afford training, and then we fund those officers in that training through training like yours because they need it. I mean,
Hmm.
and they simply don't have the budgets for it. You got just one guy who's really committed and is like, I really would like some of this stuff, but I can't afford it, and neither can my county. How do I get this? And so we felt the responsibility, like, uh, let's create this nonprofit so that we can, uh, you know, pay it forward, and the money that we raise that we can give it to guys like that, and women for that matter. Sometimes people who come out of rescued out of bad situations also need this type of training, and what even happens even better is they find a community once they go through one of these trainings, because again, training with people that you like, then you're like, I think I like to hang around these people. And we've seen people get jobs or find a church or find a community that they plug into, and now they really feel safe, because nothing feels more safe than going out with all your buddies and that are training in jiu-jitsu and martial arts and firearms training. So,
Excellent. Well, so what what are your current goals right now as a martial artist?
yeah. So in a couple of in March, second week of March, I'm testing for my master's in Tong Sudo. So in November was the last time I took that test. When you were having your pistol course, I still wanted to be there, and I had to do that course, and I actually failed my master's pretest. So I'm waiting, and this is my next. I'm up to the plate again, so it'll be my next time to go back and try it again. So I'm excited about it. This is a mile marker that I'm been super excited about. At the same time, also working on jujitsu. I competed in a tournament in December, and I plan to compete again in March, right after the master's test. So I must be a glutton for punishment, because I'm just going to go from one martial art and jump right into the frying pan and do the tournament that's coming up. So in Oklahoma City. So I'm excited about those things. But from the business aspect of it, the growth, we want to buy and build our own building. We have two locations in the Tulsa area, Broken Arrow, and then the South Tulsa location, that are really close in proximity. And we have a lot of good programs that will work together. And we just want to build a really ginormous facility that accommodates both of them together, because we have like karate and jujitsu at this location. I'm sorry, karate, jujitsu, and aerial silks at this location. At the other location, we have a program, karate. We would love to add jujitsu, but there's Ernie Trujillo. He's a guy who runs FitMog, and that's his program. And much like you, he was like, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and I go, "That sounds like a great idea. Let's just try it and see if it works." And he moved in, and it blew up. And so I'm like, "Oh, my responsibility is." There's a lot of leaders who came up like yourself with people need this training, but I need a place to take them to this training. Can you help us out? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't have to come up with all this, but I can find the places like our shooting range. Like I was like, let's call this place the EvoSec shooting range. That just sounds cool. And we're building it out. And it was really fun that day. We were, moving dirt, and you're like, oh my gosh, I hope he doesn't die moving this dirt. I know
I
those scary moments.
Oh, there were a few times, that was what was it? Is that a skid steer that you
Skid
were
steer,
running?
yeah.
You were grabbing dirt and going up to the top of the berm. A lot of our audience, of course, know what we're talking about, a large triangular, dirt berm. He was straddling the top of that triangle and, like, teeter-tottering back and forth. And I was one of those times, yeah, I was sure you were gonna roll that thing
I did
over
too.
in.
When it stopped rocking, I looked at you. I was like, I can't believe I just lived through that. I got better go backwards. That was
Well,
kind of fun.
one of my one of my favorite things about that day, is that you said, "I always get the insurance. I've had to use it before."
Yes. Like, it's not even a question. I even ask him like, "Hey, you guys put that insurance. You want that? Yeah, absolutely, I want that." Yeah, you don't know me well enough, but yeah. So you asked about my future plans. What are my vision? I'm like, what am I working on? I'm working on. We got to build a building because I see EvoSec in a building that we have really doing our the firearms training in house, the knives and all the combatives, that kind of training in close quarters, and then when we go out to the range, we're covered. We have that place too. And the best part about it is people go, the experience that I had in the classroom here is what I expect out there. We're super safe. We're super, we have lots of educational material to give somebody, and then we respect their time to make sure that we can deliver it all in such a way that they're like, oh yes, that was well worth my time. I would do that tenfold over again. So that's what I'm working on. I hope it will work. It will come to fruition because actually we got more done than what I thought we were going to get done to begin with. So
Man, I believe it, and I've seen you expand in your abilities and your coaching ability and your school. I've seen it just since we've been getting involved and starting our relationship. I think maybe just a year and a half ago, and
yeah.
and one awesome thing is too is that, like I said, you have such an open door policy, and every now and then my wife gets to come over there with me, and you just welcome her and anybody that wants to come and learn. It's just such a great place, and boy, Becky has a blast. I can tell you,
Oh,
she's
I love when
she's
she
looking.
visits.
She's thank you. She's looking forward to coming again sometime soon. Now, I
Yeah.
do have I do have one question. Of course, you've gotten into firearms too, and we get to talk some gear. Now, let me ask you this. So, what is your favorite pistol you have,
Oh
and
man,
what's your favorite carbine that you have? Here, we'll talk about a little fun gear stuff until we
that is
go
kind of
into.
tough because, like, it's like your kids. You like them for different reasons, like yeah, how you relate to them, and
Oh yeah,
I, oh gosh, that's tough because so I have a bag that's sitting at my feet that is my Glock bag. And so my Glock bag has a Glock 19, a Glock 26, and an Angstad Arms carbine 9 millimeter that uses Glock mags. So when I travel, I know this sounds silly. Like there's the gun that's in the bag. I like you got me into those holsters with the wedges, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love that. So both of them have the wedges on the concealed carry. Some of my students were asked, why do you carry two pistols? I was like, because maybe you didn't bring your pistol, and I need somebody in this fight with me. So
yeah,
I have two
yeah.
pistols in my backpack, and then I go, and then we have a carbine, and I have this bag because last Thursday we got stuck in Hannah, Oklahoma. It's in the middle of nowhere. We're stuck on a dirt road. GPS took us down a wrong turn, and so we're stuck there. And I was like, I only have one pistol, and there's three people in this car, and we're at 6:30 in the morning, and we don't know where we're at. This is not a good, and we're kind of sitting ducks here in the middle of nowhere. And I thought, oh, this is not good. But so that's why I
Well,
had that Glock bag.
some people. You told me some interesting stories about the land.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
on the
so
country.
we'll talk. There's so I'll say something about that, but like it's reminded me of the story that you told me. If you're out in the middle of nowhere in the country, some
Yep.
people y- some people don't like you out there. I
Nope.
mean, we're talking about so. In other words, I'll bring this up. You told me that on that land, that didn't you find at least a car or two that had been submerged in the pond, or was it by your land
Yeah,
or
it was
something
by
like
my
that?
land. That was a neighbor, like, the drain their pond, it was significant, and it was like, "Oh, oh, we didn't expect those to be there," and it's like, yeah, you never know what's down in the dirt out in the country, and I'm sure it's like that way in the desert, so, ev people typically handle their own business out there, and I'm sure that somebody listening to this is probably shaking their head going, "That's exactly right." And it's very common to hear gunfire in different times of the day, and it's not alarming, it's just either somebody's practicing or they're taking care of their stuff. That's just the
Y-
way it works.
Hey, I'll tell you this. I actually hit the range yesterday. I hit the, I
Oh,
like to say, the EvoSec range, and my wife and I went out there, shot some pistol and some AR. And there's definitely people in the distance doing some practice themselves. So
yeah,
it's a good area. Um, People I'm sure are pretty supportive of the Second Amendment out in that area.
absolutely.
Okay, so I have the most important question of the show, Matt, and then I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
You may or may not know what this question is, but it literally is the most important question, and that is, what are your top three favorite bands and or musicians?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I've heard you talk about this before, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I better be ready for that one. And here I am, still struggling. But no, it's like a no brainer for me. And I know this starts back to when I was in like third grade when I got a cassette player and for my birthday, and my first cassette was the Beastie Boys cassette, "License to Ill," and like that's my favorite album. That's my favorite band, and
Awesome.
even to this day, Mrs. Hoke and I were working on taxes, and literally like three instructors told me, "Hey, Mr. Reyna, why don't you go home for the day?" Because they could tell I was just in a grumpy mood and they just wanted me to get out of there. But Mrs. Hoke went over there and put on Beastie Boys, and I was like, that changed my mood, fixed me right up. So yeah, that's one of my top favorites. But I mean, I kind of listen to lots of different music. Even our playlist, ACDC will be on it. That's another one. And then Darius Rucker's on there too. You know, Hootie and the Blowfish. I like that kind of stuff too. So I kind of jump all over the map. But yeah, definitely Beastie Boys is a staple. I rarely skip one of those songs when it pops up on the playlist. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent band. I remember when that album came out. I think I was in the seventh grade
Yeah.
when that came out. So I'm just a little bit older than you. So that sounds probably about right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I love it. It makes me happy. It's my happy music, and then if and makes me think I'm young again. So it kind of changes my mood real quickly, and it plays in every grappling. I feel like a James Abram movie because I think he plays Beastie Boys in almost every film that he produces too.
Hey, and that's another thing I like about Training Ground is that there's music going. Boy, at
Oh
some
yeah,
gyms, I don't know, at some gyms, it's so quiet. Um,
yeah,
it, it, it I like having music on all the time, and so it's real comfortable to me. I don't know if you know, I actually, and I could look it up. I created an EvoSec playlist for our courses.
oh no
So
way.
yeah, and I actually had it running at the last class we had here with Eric, and but I kept it kind of low because I didn't want to be distracting. But oh yeah, I spent a lot of time making sure that was just right. And I tested it out for a few days in my car. I said, okay, yeah, this is some perfect training music.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get connected to that playlist because I do. I love music because music is an emotional relator, and people like just like church, they need like walk-in music, like they need to tap their toe, they need to relax. That it drops the tension about the stuff that we're about to do. And let's make no mistake that the stuff that we do is can make somebody anxious. And if you have some cool music playing, it really kind of drops that level of anxiety. So absolutely have to have music playing all the time.
Excellent. Yeah, I the emotional, visceral draw to music is why I'm more of a musician than anything.
Mm,
I've played guitar for 35 years. Everybody that watches this show on YouTube sees all my guitars, and you can see a bunch of guitars. You can see some dry fire targets, and of course, my SBR is there in the background,
yeah,
just
that's
in case I need it. But but man,
the magnifier on it though.
it doesn't have the magnifier on it, which
Yeah.
you let me borrow. But what I love is that because my height on my optic is a little bit higher,
Okay.
but what was cool is that you told me that, you let me borrow that, made me know that I could use one of those with my I like to call my bionic vision. I've got synthetic lenses,
Okay.
and sometimes, my vision is great,
Yeah.
starting about 3 feet away from my eyes, and then I think my eyes are focused at about 10 to 15 yards, and then
Okay.
it changes. They're actually only focused at one distance. Boy, I thought that was going to be weird, but it wasn't weird at all.
Oh, that's good to
But
hear.
yeah, so I was concerned about being able to use an optic magnifier, and
Okay.
yeah, thanks for letting me borrow it because yeah, that made me know that it'll work with my eyes, and yeah, I'm gonna get one of those pretty soon too.
Man, those are fun. Yeah.
I'm toying with a little bit. We can talk about this sometime soon offline, but I'm toying with kind of the new thing is having the optics even higher.
Huh.
So I think yours is a standard complete co-witness level.
Yep.
My Holosun 510 is at a lower one third co-witness. Boy, the new thing is significantly higher. There's
Okay.
some optics that are running on 2.26 inches. That seems like it's too high, but getting
Yeah.
up there a little bit higher is allowing you to get behind that optic without cranking your neck too much.
I can see that. Yeah. That sometimes it can be uncomfortable. I can totally see that.
So yeah, that's kind of a new trend. I don't know if it's going to stick around or not, but
Yeah.
it's fun to be able to text some of the people that I have on my little electronic Rolodex and ask them about it. I had one guy that people would know on here that said, "Oh, 1.5 is what you need. Don't go any higher than 1.7." And he's a real serious dude.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna try a little higher than that though, because I'm gonna experiment myself.
That's right. That's the fun part about learning is like, well, is testing.
Well, the point is I can say this: he's more about long range shooting. If
Mhm.
you are really focusing on long range shooting, you probably do want your optic as low as possible. But
Yeah.
if you're doing, to me, a carbine, the main application for a carbine is actually the same distance as a pistol. It
Mm.
just works better than a pistol.
Yeah.
So at close quarters, having a little bit higher optic, making it easier to get under your eye and get behind it. So yeah, that's another topic we'll be talking a little bit more on the show about, but you and I can talk a little bit offline too. But man, I appreciate you coming on. I
Yeah.
said
Thanks
I'd
for
try and
inviting me.
get you out of here in a decent amount of time because I know you get up early because you hit the ground running every
Yes.
day,
Yep.
teaching lots of people to protect themselves. And again, I just want to mention that Matt Reyna, his gym and organization is Training Ground, and you're going to hear a lot more about him from him and our relationship with the EvoSec classes. I mean, I'm excited about the big things that are coming for your class, and I'm just honored that you would
Yeah.
want me to come along with your great organization.
Oh,
So,
thank you. I think we're living the good old days. I can't wait to see what the future has right now ahead of us.
oh yeah, buddy. Well, hey, you have a good night.
All
Thanks
right.
again.
Yep. Take care, brother.
All right.